Hello everyone, my name is Joseph Elfelt and I'm the developer of GISsurfer. The prior video in this series showed how to use GISsurfer's screenshot mode to make a series of georeferenced screenshots that exactly adjoin and can easily be stitched together into a larger georeferenced image. One way to use those images is to include them in KMZ files, which can then be opened with various software. For example, the Android app ATAC can open KMZ files that include georeferenced images. The ATAC app helps first responders with situational awareness. You can also open this kind of KMZ file with Google Earth Pro, where you can fly over the image in 3D. This video will show you how to make KMZ files that include georeferenced images. And be aware as I demonstrate things that I'm using a Windows 10 PC keyboard and mouse. KMZ files are compressed. You cannot directly open or edit them. So in order to make a KMZ file, you have to start by making a KML file. The video is showing the 4 buttons that you see after you are done using GISsurfer to make a series of screenshots and you get out of screenshot mode. 2 of those buttons will let you save the syntax for a KML file. If you want to make a KML file and are going to stitch your JPEG screenshots together into a single image, then click the second button here and that KML syntax will be copied to the clipboard. You can then paste that data into any text editor and save it. If you want to make a KML file but you are not planning to stitch your JPEG screenshots together, then click the 4th button and that text will be copied to the clipboard, and again you can save it. The screen is now showing the kind of data you will see when you are planning to stitch images together and you have checked the 2nd button to get the KML syntax. This link right here will open the map at the place where you took the first screenshot in the upper left corner of the area where you're taking screenshots. If you need to redo any screenshot, you can open the map with this link, use the arrow keys to navigate the map to where you want to retake a screenshot, and just take a single screenshot again. And here is the KML syntax that you'll use for the stitched together image. Notice that the georeferenced data for the stitched together image is automatically included in the KML syntax. Since the KML syntax needs to be in its own file, I'm going to copy the KML, open up a new file, and paste the KML in there, and save this with the name right there, KML. Now you need to do just a bit of editing with the KML file. First, the href tag right there needs to be the name of the file that has the stitched together JPEG. And in the prior video, I named that file Mason Lake 2x2.jpg. And I usually, you could put a name for the ground overlay right there, but I usually just simply delete that line. If you want to use it, you can. I am going to add a name under the document tag right there, and I'll just call this Mason Lake. And now I'll be sure to save the edits that I made right there. Notice that the ground overlay, that part of the KML, has 2 important things. It has the href tag that has the name for the stitched together image, and it has the georeference data for that image. If you are using software that can display KML and KMZ files, then you might need to test that software to see if it can display ground overlays. You might be surprised to discover that support for the ground overlay tag is lacking. One free map app that I know supports KML ground overlays is the Android app ATAC, and that's ATAK if you want to look that up. Now that I have edited the KML file, it's time to make a KMZ file. In the prior video, I demonstrated GISsurfer's screenshot mode by taking 4 screenshots that showed hiking trails in a part of the Cascade Mountains east of Seattle. I also demonstrated stitching those JPEGs together into a larger image. The screen is now showing a list of the file names in one of the folders that I have. The 4 individual JPEGs are those files right there. The stitched together JPEG I made is that file. And here's the KML file that I just made. So to make a KMZ file, I'm going to select the stitched together JPEG, and then I'm going to hold down the Control key and also select the KML file that I just made. Then I'm going to right click anywhere in the selection, and I'm going to select Send to Compressed Folder. And you see now that a new file has been made here with the file extension of zip. I'm going to select that file, and I'm going to change the file extension from zip to KMZ. Answer yes right there. And I now have made a KMZ file. And that KMZ file contains the 2 files, the stitched together JPEG and the KML file. Both zip files and KMZ files are compressed. You can't directly open and edit either one. The only difference between a zip file and a KMZ file is the file extension. Both zip files and KMZ files can contain multiple individual files. The KMZ file I just made contains 2 files, namely the stitched together JPEG file and the KML file. The screen is now showing Google Earth Pro, which is an easy way to test a KMZ file. This software is free and can be installed on both PCs and Macs. I'm going to open the KMZ file I just made, this one right here, and Google Earth Pro will zoom in on that file. This is the stitched together JPEG, and I can zoom in here just to make sure that it's correctly georeferenced, and looking at the freeway right here, it lines up perfectly well. Zooming back out, maybe going over to the other side, looking at some things. The freeway up at the other end here, there it is. And there's been some slight realignment over the years, but that lines up well also. So it sure looks like the georeferencing is done correctly here. Of course, one fun thing with Google Earth Pro is that you can fly over the image in 3D. Just by scrolling around. You do that by using these 2 controls in the upper right. You can pivot the image around one way or another and have a lot of fun doing that. Fly around a little bit, move this way, move that way. Alright, enough of that. Now, earlier in this video, I showed that when you were done taking a series of screenshots, there were 2 different ways that you could save KML syntax based on whether or not you intended to stitch the screenshots together. On the screen right now is an example of the data you can save when you are not planning to stitch the screenshots together. The GISsurfer link right here is the same one we saw before. This is the link that will reopen the map in the upper left-hand corner of the area where you're taking a series of screenshots. Now, I've already saved that, so I don't need to save that again. So I'm just going to delete that part of the file right there. And what I'm left with now is the KML syntax when I'm not planning to stitch the images together. And if we scroll down here, we see that there's going to be 4 ground overlay sections, 1 for each of the 4 screenshots I took in the prior video. Here's the second ground overlay section right there. We scroll down, there's the third one, and there's the 4th ground overlay right there. Now we need to edit the KML just like we did before. So we need to go to each of the href tags and put in the file name that for each of the 4 JPEGs. And the file names we put in here are the same order that we took the screenshots. So if we open up the folder name again, here are the 4 screenshots I took, and they're shown in the order right there that I took the screenshots. This is an example of why it's a really good idea to use the naming convention I described in the prior video. Because if you use that naming convention, then when you list the file names are listed in the order that you took the screenshots. So the first href tag, that's going to get filled in with 1_1.jpg. And in the lat long box, here's the georeferenced data for that JPEG. When GISsurfer builds this KML file, it automatically plugs in the georeferenced data in the order with which you took the screenshots. Now I go down to the next href tag, and that's 1_2.jpg, and there's the georeferenced data for the second screenshot I took. Go down to the third href tag, and this will be 2_1, signifying this JPEG was taken in row 2, column 1.jpg. There's the georeferenced data for it. And the last href tag is going to be 2_2.jpg. And again, I'm going to delete these name tags for the individual ground overlays. You can use them if you want to. That's an option. Delete that one, and that one. And I am going to put a name in here under the document tag. We'll call this Mason Lake No Stitch. So those are all of the edits that I need to make. Make sure that I need to save this file, save as, and I'm going to get rid of that and give this the file extension of .kml and save. Now that the KML has been edited, it's time to make a KMZ file. So I'm going to select the first of the 4 JPEGs. Going to hold down the shift key, select the last of the JPEGs, so that selects the 4 JPEGs. I'm holding down the control key, and I'm going to select the KML file I just made right there. So now I've got 5 files selected. I'm going to right click anywhere within the selection, and I'm going to go down to Send to Compressed Folder and select that. I now have a new file right there. I'm going to change the file name, call it Mason Lake No Stitch .kmz. Get rid of that part. And there's my KMZ file right there. Answer yes. And so the last thing to do is, again, I like to open KMZ files in Google Earth Pro, take a quick look just to make sure everything worked right. So I've got Google Earth Pro open on the screen now, and here's the KMZ file that I just made. I'm going to double click that to open that up. And again, Google Earth Pro will zoom in and show that KMZ file. Now this is the one that includes the 4 individual JPEGs that are not stitched together. And notice that there are no overlaps, there are no gaps, and that's because the 4 JPEGs exactly adjoin. So when you take a series of screenshots, you have the option of either stitching your screenshots together or not stitching them. However, one advantage of stitching screenshots together is that it is then easy to apply some compression to the final stitched together large JPEG. For the last part of this video, I'm going to shift gears, and instead of showing you how to make a KMZ file, I'm going to show you how to unmake a KMZ file. In other words, here's how to uncompress a KMZ file so you can look at its contents. And again, I'm doing this on a Windows 10 PC. Here's one of the KMZ files that I made right there. I'm going to select that file, and I'm going to change the file extension from KMZ to zip. Do that. Answer yes. I'm going to select that file again and right click, and I'm going to select Extract All. and I'll do extract. And I now have a new folder created on my hard drive right there, and I'm going to drill down on that folder, and that KMZ file contains two files. It contains a KML file and it contains a JPEG screenshot file that I made. I can open up the KML file, take a look at it. There it is right there. There's a single ground overlay section. There's the name of the JPEG file, and there's the georeferenced data for that JPEG also. Or I could open up the JPEG file right there, open that. This happens to be just a single screenshot that I made into a KMZ file instead of a series that are stitched together. Just sometimes I'll make a single screenshot file that just shows a series of local trails in an area. This is the end of the video showing you how to make KMZ files that include georeferenced images. Next in this series is video number 12, which will show you how to make georeferenced images that have a transparent background. In addition to this video, there's also a PDF file with detailed instructions for using GISsurfer to make georeferenced images. You can find that PDF file as well as others by going to the GISsurfer homepage, GISsurfer.com, click the big green menu button, and go to the help page. You can always find my contact information and links to my various projects by visiting the Mapping Support project page, mappingsupport.com. Thanks for watching. I hope you find GISsurfer to be useful.